Sometimes I'd have to bring you down to earth too. I know this verse hurts you. I tell you what, I give you advice. I'm feeling nice. Your vices could influence your writing if you weren't biting.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're here to talk about AEW Collision for October the 14th, 2023. We got 2 notes before we get into the show. 1, Tony Khan is tweeting again, so we're going to have to discuss that. And 2, Tony Khan has decided to bring in Mystico. So that ought to be interesting, especially the response to people bringing in Mystico. All right, so Tony Khan decided to clear up why he has been doing what he's been doing in terms of how he's been tweeting about WWE. It's a series of tweets, 3, and to which really disturbed a lot of people. I'm just going to read them, and then we're going to go into it. He says, this weekend marks 1 year since the Mayo Clinic saved my mom's life. During her ordeal, many AEW talent came to me alleging WWE tampering, inducing them to break their contracts. I'll never forget these phone calls at her side in the hospital. It's when business became personal to me. This is nothing new. I mentioned it last year after she came home. It's relevant today because she checked in for surgery 1 year ago today. As I've mentioned several times since, Mayo Clinic are heroes, and thanks to them, her recovery from a very grim outlook has been a miracle. Later, he says, not that I should be surprised, but the same WWE avatar accounts that spam me every day, no matter what I say or what it's about, now turning their wrath to mom recovering from a near-death experience, is why I straight hate these people to the bottom of my very soul. What is he talking about? Do you hate the WWE? Do you hate the WWE fans? Because these two things are different things. Being upset about your mom being ill is understandable. It's a human thing. It's sympathetic. But to say that your dislike of WWE is based off of them contract tampering during the time of your mom's illness, as if they knew that. You know, they're going to wait until you're sick, your mom's sick, and then they're going to try to steal Swerve Strickland and William Regal away from you. And which is conspiratorial already. 9 times out of 10, nobody knew that. And I doubt it would matter that much. Second, that should have been so far from anything that you gave a damn about at that particular time. And look, as somebody who's dealing with an ill mother right now, I need to compartmentalize things. And I would have hoped that Tony Khan would have done the same thing. Me and Tony Khan are in the same age bracket. We could have went to school together. He's about 2 years older than me. You need to be able to compartmentalize these things. As a mature adult, that would not have even been on my radar of things to be upset about if I was concerned about my mom dying. The contracts of talent would not even been on my radar. So let's say that this thing occurred exactly the way he said it occurred. That should not have even been on your list of things to care about. Because as soon as you picked up your phone, hey, this guy is under contract and Triple H called him. Okay, well, he's still under contract to us. Done and done. What more can you do? Well, they're trying to get him to break his contract. Well, I will sue them. So, I mean, what do they want to get sued over Swerve Strickland and William Regal? No. So trust me, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's certainly not a big deal for you to hold for a year. It's certainly not that big of an issue. And the third thing, and I've seen a lot of people say this, that Tony Khan has actually been doing a lot of contract tampering himself. And look, I've always run with the thing of calling people hypocrites. Don't change their behavior. In fact, it really just kind of distracts from the issue. Okay? Tony Khan doesn't really care about contract tampering. He understands how this stuff works. He's been in sports. He knows that you reach out to somebody's agent probably before the contract is really expired to see what kind of negotiations were going on. Is he considering going on the market? What's happening here? He knows how this stuff works. So most people who understand sports and understand contracts and understands when somebody is in demand, people are going to reach out, whether they reach out to their agent or they reach out to the talent directly, and the talent can't negotiate or whatever the case may be. They may say, hey, I'm under contract or whatever, talk to my manager, however that works. They're not exactly contract tampering. But because he's got conspiracy theory brain, he thinks that this was some concerted effort to screw him out of precious talent that for some reason can't be replaced. Again, this conspiracy mindset, this paranoia that, he's constantly under attack seems to me to be a symptom of something deeper and far more problematic than the stuff that he's tweeting out. But even if you believed all of that, you believe that WWE tried to steal your talent while your mom was sick, I still would not be tweeting about it a year later. It's simply not that serious. Simply not that serious, if we're being honest. So, I know a lot of people are very upset about this guy using his sick mom to attack WWE. And I agree with you. I think that there definitely needs to be like a wellness check done on Tony Khan. Somebody has got to give this guy something. He needs some booty. He needs a girlfriend, a dog. He needs a Valentine. He needs something. He needs something to love. All right? Because this stuff, if he took that so personally, the business became personal when you tried to steal my talent while my mom was sick. It's like, what are you? I'm sorry. That wouldn't have made the business personal for me. Unless all the talent were about to leave, or something like that. And then it was like some legitimate effort. But this is like when CM Punk, got fired on his wedding day. It's like, how many people actually knew that? Do you think people actually just sat around and waited until your wedding day to fire you? Or was it that they did what they did, if it even happened that way, and it just happened to be your wedding night? In this situation, when Triple H took over of WWE, and he reached out to some of the guys who had gotten fired that he had actually hired, he calls them to see what's going on. Like, what's the contract length on your, are you signed there for a long term, short term? How does that go? I mean, is that contract temporary? No. You can talk to people. You can't induce them to break their contracts. And if you so believed it, why didn't you sue? You believed it, that this was happening to the point where you hate them to the bottom of your very soul. You didn't file a lawsuit. You didn't file a lawsuit. And then the people that was supposedly involved in this, you let one of them go. And the other one is still under your contract. And you've just now, here is, 10 months later, you're finally started doing something with them. It wasn't like he's one of your top guys or something like that. So to me, it just seems like it was a very weird situation, and Tony Khan needs help. This seemed like a really lame excuse for his behavior. This guy needs some help. But I think that there's nothing wrong with Tony Khan that can't be fixed with some pussy. Or booty, if that's his thing. I don't know. He needs to go to the Anthony Bowen's school of macking on dudes. I don't know. I don't know what this guy needs. But he needs to stop tweeting. And I hope he spends more time with his mom and less time tweeting. Because if my mom was that sick and I felt like she was going to die, trust me, guys with 20 followers on Twitter would not get up 90 seconds out of my day. I promise you that. So everything about this is sad and pathetic. Let's move on real quick. All right, so I think he announced on Twitter that Mystico will be on Rampage. This, of course, blew up. This became a really big deal amongst the Spanish-speaking parts of the Twitter machine, because this, of course, leaves the door open for further dealings with CMLL And since AEW already has a partnership with AAA, people were like, how is that going to work out? So I've heard some certain ways that they're going to be able to work around that. But let's talk about Mystico first. So Mystico, for those of you who know, if you know, you know, Mystico is Sin Cara. He's the original Sin Cara. Big draw in Mexico. Huge draw. One of the biggest draws of the last decade. They did a vignette tonight on Collision where they say he was the greatest luchador of all time, which is... Mil Mascaras is still breathing. He's still above ground, by the way. I mean, Mil Mascaras probably isn't even the greatest, and he's, probably top 5 at the very least, and he's not 5. He's at least 3. And so high. Okay. Anyway, Mystico was a huge star. Triple H goes out, recruits him, brings him into WWE. They give him the name Sin Cara. They give him that silly gimmick with the lights and everything. Some talent who worked with him, people who speak Spanish, like I believe it was Eddie Colon, who I think it was Epico or Primo, one or the other, was working out with Sin Cara and felt like he should probably go to NXT or whatever it was at FCW or whatever it was at the time, so that he can learn English and learn how to work the style. But because Mystico was a big draw, he was like, I don't need to do that. I'm going to do my thing. And then, Triple H is kind of like, yeah, he's going to be a huge star. He's going to be our new Rey Mysterio. So they brought Sin Cara up to the main roster without any kind of time in NXT or whatever training facility they were doing at the time. And he flopped. He got injured almost pretty quickly. Quit in the middle of a match because he dislocated his finger. Got injured again not too long after that. Then ended up getting replaced by Unico, who ended up being Sin Cara number 2. He went back to Mexico and remained being a big star. It didn't matter at all that he flopped in WWE because they didn't care, because they're Mexicans and they just wanted their guy back. So they got Mystico back. He had a silly name like Caristico or Mystices or whatever they were doing down there. I'm not going into all that, but they got their guy back, and he's been back down there ever since. So this is his time in returning to top American television. And if you speak Spanish in your household pretty regularly, you're going to be very excited about Mystico. If you don't, you looking at this as it's Sin Cara, it's Sin Cara's back. And that was my first thought was, I hope he doesn't jam his fingers. I'm well versed enough in Lucha Libre to know that this is a big deal. Having a working agreement of any type with CMLL and AAA at the same time is very interesting. Mystico, big, again, top draw in Mexico. But if you're a regular American wrestling fan, Mystico is not going to be that big of a deal for you. Especially since, you can say he's the greatest luchador of all time, but what really is going to be the difference between him and Commander or him and, El Hijo del Vikingo? And these guys are fairly younger guys. These guys are much younger guys. They're not the draw, of course. But if you've been watching Impact, you've been watching Laredo Kid and, people like that in America for a while now. And if you're American, all these luchadors are going to run together. They're all just faceless flip guys. And I like Mystico. I enjoy Mystico's matches when I do watch CMLL, which is not that often. I'm more of a AAA guy myself. But I can say that this is a big deal, for the Latin American audience. Mystico being on television in the United States is a big deal, and they are right to be excited. It's on Rampage, though. Now, the reason why it's on Rampage is because they're trying to put some space in between guys who are contracted to AAA and guys who are contracted to CMLL. They can't show up on the same show. So I think there's some AAA guys who are going to be on Dynamite. I think Penta is the guy I'm thinking of who's going to be on Dynamite. And so to give the perception that they're not working the same show, Mystico is going to be on Rampage. Second is they give his opponent is going to be Rocky Romero. Look, I don't care how good of a power broker Rocky Romero is, and I think he's the one who got this deal done. So he's no slouch in terms of negotiating. But I have zero interest in watching Rocky Romero wrestle. And you know what? I'm not the only one. I don't care if it's Mexico. I don't care if it's Japan. I have no interest in Rocky Romero. I have no interest in watching Rocky Romero. He is Chavo Guerrero without the Guerrero. Who cares about Rocky Romero at all? This match is always, of course, going to be all about Mystico. Will I watch Rampage? No, I don't speak Spanish. So, I can watch Mystico matches on YouTube if I wanted to watch Mystico matches. I don't need to watch him wrestle Rocky Romero. I don't care about that. But this is a big deal for the Hispanic audience, which Tony Khan has been kind of crapping all over, if we're being honest. But once AEW has been a place that has shown you Phoenix and a bunch of other guys who are much younger, and they work a lot faster than Mystico, but it's still is a big deal. I'm just trying to see how they're going to individualize Mystico outside of just telling everybody he's a big deal. Oh, he's a big deal, guys, we promise. Okay. Is he going to wrestle often? I don't think so. Seems like it's going to be a one-off, or this is like a let's see what happens kind of deal, where they got the booking, and now they kind of like, well, let's see what happens from here. So it ought to be fine, I guess. But it's a big get for Tony Khan. He's very excited, and a lot of people are very excited. A lot of the AEW fans have no idea. But here's the one thing, and this is the reason why I even thought to bring it up. Somebody was making fun of it. WWE fans, they do stuff like this. They were making fun of it. And somebody, I think some site, put Mystico and then put in, or they said Sin Cara, or the original Sin Cara, and in brackets they put Mystico to appear on Rampage. And some probably Hispanic wrestling fan said, why are you using his colonizer name? And for starters, I laughed. I thought it was hilarious because this guy's taking this stuff so seriously. But secondly, his colonizer name, like somebody kidnapped him and then renamed him. Like the guy didn't just, hey, I'd rather get paid in US dollars rather than, work in Mexico where somehow people are robbing the box office and I might not get paid. So he left Mexico to come to the United States. If anything, he colonized the United States. And, they gave him the name Sin Cara. And look, I get it. The Mexican wrestling fans or the Spanish-speaking wrestling fans are very sensitive about, Mystico's failure. I don't know why. It's just, it happens. WWE is not for everybody. It is what it is. But it's one of those things where I'm just forever shocked at how in the bubble and how ludicrous people can be to refer to Sin Cara as his colonizer name. Like somebody dragged him off of a ship or something like this. Like, what kind of person thinks and says some garbage like that? But it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. He will forever be Sin Cara. You can't get away from it. It is what it is. And a lot of people blame WWE for Mystico's failure, but it's a failure on both sides. The style is not conducive to pure luchadors, and that's a problem because WWE wants people to work a certain way. Bill Goldberg had a similar problem. I did the watch along recently when I talked about the Legion of Doom, had the same problem, having to modify what you can do or what you do to fit WWE. They also gave him that horrid lighting where, you couldn't see the match. I didn't know what was up with the lighting and why it had to be that way. But yeah, there was mistakes on all sides. Mystico having a super ego and not wanting to go and learn English, not wanting to be retrained, thinking I got this, I got it handled. His lack of toughness and his ego basically is why so many sort of WWE fans are kind of looking like, oh, he's just Sin Cara. Who cares? Because, and these are facts. These aren't just, oh, the WWE dirtied his name. It's like we watched him quit in the middle of a match because he dislocated his finger. Like we watched guys finish matches with super concussions and broken jaws and all kind of, twisted body parts. This guy dislocated one finger and was like, no mas, no mas. And everybody was like, what the how much money are they paying this guy? And they paid that guy a lot of money to come from CMLL to the United States. So he doesn't really have too much sympathy with more knowledgeable fans. And the fact that he has an ego, that didn't help. But the fact that WWE is a place that must change absolutely everything about you also does not help. If you look at his mask today, it doesn't cover his eyes, where the Sin Cara mask actually does. And I think you have to have a certain level of training to walk around and to wrestle with your eyes covered. I don't think it's a smart thing to have your eyes covered in a wrestling ring, but Mystico being on Rampage is a big deal. I wonder if it'll draw. And I'll probably look and see. It probably won't draw in terms of TV ratings, but I want to see what like the Hispanic audience, whether that's going to increase or not. I've said repeatedly on this channel that you can bring in all the luchadors you want. You have to individualize them because in America, most of them are just going to be like, okay, what version of Rey Mysterio is this? And it's not, Americans' fault. It's like you'll have generic white boys in Mexico or in Japan or whatever. You got to do something to make them stand out. You got one of them. That's interesting because they don't have white people over there, like regular white folks, British folks or whatever. So then they do something silly, and it's usually something stereotypical, like wrap him in an American flag, and all of a sudden he wears red, white, and blue. That's the only kind of colors he has in his entire wardrobe all of a sudden. So that's nothing. That's what QT Marshall's claim to fame now is he dresses like Cody Rhodes. And everybody's like, he's such a great heel. Like, he's just being an American in Mexico. So what? There's nothing special about that. But to that audience, it's different, They have 100 of those fucking guys. I don't understand how they can still be, into QT Marshall just because he wants to be Captain America all of a sudden. But I'm interested in the Hispanic audience and whether it grows. But I said before, I'll say it again, they need to bring the girls over here. That's what is missing. What's missing is the female luchadors. The fact that Taya Valkyrie was brought in and then they didn't bring in any of the girl luchadors for her to work with. I mean, why not? Yes, it's great you're bringing in Mystico. It'd be awesome if he was able to get Psycho Clown or whatever from AAA or, Penta or Phoenix or Laredo Kid or whoever, Vikingo, Commander. Oh, that's great. But are you going to bring in any of the women? Because that might be where things can be different, where you might be able to make a splash, where you might even be able to make a change. If you're a wrestling fan of a certain age, you've already seen Mystico. You already know how this is going to go, or you have an idea. And if it goes perfectly fine, then he's just another luchador on the roster. Or he's just another luchador popping in and popping out because he's probably not going to sign full time. And it's an interesting thing to have, a guy of that caliber on your roster. But why not try to get the women? And I've said Triple H has gone around here. He's such a big fan of women's wrestling. And he keeps bringing all the Japanese girls. Like, what about the Mexican ones? They're right there. You don't got to fly them halfway across the world. They're right there in Mexico. Just Call Conan, bro. You know, I know Conan says none of the girls are ready. He's lying to you. Just watch the show. There's some ones there that you can sell their masks and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And maybe it might be a language issue, but that's really where you can have an opportunity. And if you're Tony Khan and you're trying to create something different with AEW, bringing in the luchadoras, that's different. That's something that you can do that WWE is not doing, because all of you are picking off the same tree, and you need to individualize your company. Now, because I talked myself into this, Dave Meltzer actually criticized AEW for having too many old guys. So at least he's being consistent. Remember, he went after WWE when he said that the talent was too old too. So it took him a while, but I guess Edge joining AEW was kind of like, all right, there's too many old people here. So here is what Dave Meltzer said on his radio show. It's weird when I watch AEW, because when I watch it, the thing that hits me always is there are too many older guys from another generation on television. But they are always good performers. Christian Cage, I actually think Christian Cage is phenomenal. The thing is with Adam Copeland and Christian is that they're really smart at working professional wrestling matches. They know what they can do. They know what they can't do. They don't try to do stuff they can't do. And they really understand making a good match. They're exceptional at that. It's weird. I'm watching it because these guys are really good, but it's still too much for an average person watching. They're going to go like every startup promotion. It's like, oh, these guys that aren't in WWE anymore, that's their top guys, as opposed to making your own guys and having WWE guys be the adjuncts. Kind of like Sting when he first came in, and still is, in the sense that he doesn't dominate the show, but it's like you get to see Sting, but he's not main eventing your pay-per-views. Well, in this one, they've really gone heavily to whoever the new guy is, and now it's so many older guys. I don't know if it's a good thing, but if you're going on good performances and good performers, I can't say it's not. But so much of wrestling is not who has the best matches or who are the best performers, but who are the biggest stars. Now, of course, this is a lighter touch than he took when Edge made his return to WWE, and he was just talking about how, oh, the 18 to 49 is low because you got too many old guys on your roster. Now it's like, well, they're good performers. They're old, but they're good performers, and, you know, they can't have the matches that the younger guys can have, but they can have good matches. They can put together good matches. So it's kind of a criticism, but with a lighter touch. But at least he went there. You know, it took him a while to get to the AEW relies a lot on old guys, but it took him a little bit. That being said, though, I don't 100% agree with his criticism that, you know, now I guess what he's saying is they shouldn't main event. If they're going to come in and basically add a little something to the show, that's fine. But, you know, having Edge be the focal point of the product is a negative. And that might be a good point. But considering MJF is your world champion, he's a young guy. Jay White is still fairly young, and he never really worked long-term in the United States, so this is the first time people have ever really got a chance to see him. He's a young guy. I don't even think he's 30. So there are some young guys in AEW who are the main event, the top guys. They aren't as seasoned. They aren't as, you know, people are not as interested in them, but they're there, you know. But I think mostly his thing is it's all work rate stuff. You know, he's captivated by the work rate of the younger guys. But I wonder, and I do wonder this, if he feels the same way about like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, because those guys are older. Now they're not 50. You know, Edge is 50. They're not 50, but they can't have the matches they used to be able to have either. You know, so they're significantly slower than they used to be. You know, wasn't that long ago that Kenny Omega was talking about not being able to do the same stuff that he was able to do before. But I wonder if he worries about his boys getting old. Or is it just, well, I want to talk shit about Edge and Christian and Jericho, and that's kind of it. But it's not that many people if you think about it. You know, it is basically just Edge, Christian, and Jericho that are as old as they are. Danielson isn't that old. I think Danielson's probably 40, maybe a little over 40. Same age bracket as Moxley. But he's right in terms of you need to have new stars, you need to focus on new stars, but they are doing that, you know? Well, at least at the main event level, it's MJF, and then it's Jay White, and then there's a gulf between those guys and like the Kyle Fletchers and, you know, the Daniel Garcias and the Wheeler Yutas, and it's a talent gulf. It's not like an age gulf, you know? Some guys in their mid-20s are really good, and you should focus on those guys. Some guys are in their mid-20s and they suck, and we should not feel obligated to give those guys top spots just because they're in their mid-20s, you know? And you certainly shouldn't put them in main events just because they're in their mid-20s. That's the wrong perception to give out there, is that if you're a younger guy, you're going to get a good spot, because it really should be that if you're a young guy and you're ready for that spot, then that spot will be available to you. The problem with promotions in the past is when the young guys were ready and they kept getting held back by the older guys, and then the young guys would have to leave and get an opportunity somewhere else. That was traditionally the problem. The issue that doesn't seem to apply in AEW, where they will push young guys. Sometimes they will push young guys too soon, and they'll have like Daniel Garcia versus Wheeler Yuta in the main event of a show. It's like, that probably shouldn't be, you know, but that is traditionally the old guard, is, you know, guys who hang on too long. In this situation, Edge is so new to AEW, and this is a different environment than we've ever seen him in, that I'm willing to say, okay, you know, we're all right with this. But I was surprised to see Meltzer criticize AEW for having too many old guys on the roster. And then considering that they started the show with one of those old guys, I got a chuckle out of that. So let's finally get into Collision. I know, sorry, it took so long to get here. So Edge starts the segment. He is immediately cut off by Christian, who is upset that Edge is in his ring. He said that the guards, which featured Hot Fire Myron Reed, he's an extra on this thing. Myron Reed has been wrestling for years. Why is he an extra on this show? Look at some of the quality of talent. Let's take a pause for a second. Some of the people on this show suck ass, all right? Especially some of the job guys. But there's at least some job guys who have size to them, or they have a look to them or something like that. But Myron Reed is a guy who actually has some experience, and he's actually pretty good. Yeah, he's still very young. I think he's like in his early 20s. Why is he being used as an extra? You might as well just go ahead and put him on the show. I'm advocating for Myron Reed, but let's get into this review. No more distractions. So Christian wants Edge to leave, or his guards are going to kick him out. Danielson interrupts because Christian started mentioning that the Blackpool Combat Club, he got them banned from ringside so he could have a fair fight. Danielson says, oh yeah, I wanted to have a fair fight too, so I went to Tony Khan and I got your guys banned from ringside, Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus. So they start bickering, and then Ricky Starks and Big Bill come out for no reason. Ricky Starks said of all these guys are taking up their time, he has no respect for Edge, no respect for Danielson. But he respects Christian Cage because they're champions. Then he's in the ring, and he said something to Edge, to which Edge responded that he was wearing silk pants or something to that effect. Then Ricky Starks responded, and it seemed like it hurt Edge's feelings. I don't remember exactly what he even said. So Edge calls Ricky Starks a vanilla midget version of The Rock. That leads a lot of people to be like, oh, Edge torched him. Edge cooked him. Other people saying that Ricky Starks cooked Edge. Look, it was an interesting exchange. I can tell you that much. It was fun, I think. I don't think anybody took anything that happened in this thing seriously. At least I hope not. But Edge calling Ricky Starks a vanilla midget version of The Rock, it's like, that's something we've heard before. I think he said he took his sense of style from The Rock, or something like that. But, I mean, we've heard that before. It's a nice little burn. But it doesn't hit the same way because so many other people have said it. But I get it. It was funny. It seemed to be a little off the cuff, a little unscripted, which is fine. But that's the problem with these unscripted promos, is that these guys typically want to snipe at each other, and it can get personal. I don't think it got personal, though. If I remember correctly, and I'm trying my best to remember what Ricky Starks said that set Edge off, I think it was something about his eyes. Did he say he had bug eyes or no style or something like that? It was one or the other. I think it might have been a little bit of both, actually. But something that Ricky Starks said triggered Edge, and Edge responded, which he probably shouldn't have. But okay, I'm glad he did, because it made the segment far more interesting. Because if this had not occurred, if this crosstalk between the two of them had not occurred, there would be nothing special about this segment at all. It would just be a nothing segment on this show. But because these guys got into it, then yeah, it was actually fun, you know. But at least this part was fun. Everything else, I really didn't care about, and I was hoping that Danielson or that somebody would get us back on track, because we was off the rails. Once they started cross-talking to each other, we was off the rails, brother. And I needed to get back on, all right? I needed this train to keep moving. But, because I still wasn't sure why Ricky Starks and Big Bill was even out there. So then, out of nowhere, FTR is out there. One is talking about how they had a medical exemption last week, but they volunteered to defend the titles, and that might have been a mistake, because then they lost. But they're still the best tag team in the world. You were better than FTR for one night. Then Bald stepped up, and we all got to go to work. I got to go to work. You got to go to work. He got to go to work. We all got to feed our daughters. We all got to do that. And I'm like, oh my God, please get what is going on with this segment. Get this segment back on track. This was about Christian and Danielson. And thankfully, as it was getting chaotic and getting on my nerves, Danielson says, look, I just want to fight Christian right now, pretty much. And it didn't happen. It ended up being like a fight with all the security guys getting beat up, which, you know, that's what security guys are good for. And we ended up not seeing any more of these guys for the rest of the night. So this leads us to the main event. Christian Cage defeats Bryan Danielson after Big Bill and Ricky Starks interfered in the match, hitting Danielson in the head with the tag team title. Hell of a match that these two guys had. Christian, at his age, still being able to do this stuff at such a level, I am very impressed. Very good. It got to the point, really, in this match where I was questioning how they were going to finish it, because Christian hit his spear and then his kill switch, and Danielson kicked out. Christian also kicked out of the Busaiku knee and was in the LeBell lock seemingly forever. So you was asking the question, like, okay, how is this match going to end? And that's a good question to have, because you're like, you know, not only is there a chance Danielson can win, you had a feeling Danielson wasn't going to win, but I was like, well, there's always that chance. There's always an opportunity. And then, of course, Big Bill came out there and stunk up the joint. So Christian Cage wins. After the match, the four heels was Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. They showed up too. They started stomping Danielson, and they seemed to get some really good stomps in, like, you know, good, you know, few seconds of stomps in before FTR and Edge and all of them came out there and fought them off. So, all right. Christian is really on the run of a lifetime. I'm very impressed with Christian. I like Christian right now. Danielson is having phenomenal matches as usual. Danielson is out here like a guy, again, not interested in anything other than the graps. You know, storyline elements, not really up to snuff, don't matter at all. It's just kind of, let's just get to the wrestling part. That's the part I'm here for, you know. But I don't, FTR and Big Bill and all these guys, I don't like none of the body involved with this outside of Ricky Starks. So I hope this just doesn't drag Ricky Starks down. That's all. But him cooking Edge and hurting Edge's feelings, I really wish I remember what he said, but I didn't write it down. I couldn't because it was too much crosstalk. Anyway, him hurting Edge's feelings was great. And then on Twitter, he said he got too much charisma for AEW, which I think was funny. They played a vignette for MJF and his anti-Semitism message, saying that people cheering him gets you to believe that Jews can be cool, strong, and witty. That this is anti-Semitism is a thing that needs to be talked about more, because we don't talk about anti-Semitism and discrimination enough in this goddamn country. And that Jews are 2% of the population, but 55% of religious hate crimes. He was also hanging out with the owner of the New England Patriots, who he says is a huge MJF mark. I'm going to spare you my discussion and just say, who said that Jews can't be cool, strong, and witty? I don't know. There have been Jewish baby faces in wrestling before. I mean, Bill Goldberg, for Christ's sake. I mean, and Goldberg was on TV, within the last 3 or 4 years too, so it wasn't that long ago, man. Anyway, it's the typical young activists, they think they're reinventing the wheel. I'm going to fight anti-Semitism because the stuff that I'm saying has never been said before, and it needs to be said right now. And I'm like, okay, good job. I don't think it's going to help matters, but good job. Samoa Joe wrestled Willie Mack, and I had fun with this. Willie Mack. Interesting situation with this Willie Mack thing. He had gotten offered a WWE contract, and then they said he had a heart condition or something to that effect, which he said that did not occur. And then they rescinded the contract, and he went to go work for Impact, which is basically like being thrown in a closet for several years. He went down to Mexico recently and became a pretty big star when he started doing like a dancing gimmick. And now here he is in AEW. He had a really good match with Samoa Joe. I thought this was fun. I hate that they use guys this way in AEW. Instead of bringing Willie Mack in and utilizing him to be the guy who gets over and gets an opportunity to showcase his talent in a match where he can actually win a match, he gets put in a match where he looks strong, but he loses to Samoa Joe. And now he's got to start from the bottom all over again. It's like, oh, yeah, well, Willie Mack, thanks for coming into AEW. But you've already taken a big fat L. And nobody takes you seriously because they've already seen you lose. Rather than building people up, they bring people in at a surprise spot, I guess. And then they immediately sink them. And then they try to build them up again. It's very weird. Also, Samoa Joe, can you watch out that power slam? You drop Willie Mack on his neck. It's probably not a good idea. All right, CJ Perry, she's there to make champions and to pursue gold. That's what she's here to do. And she throws out a little line and says, oh, if anybody is interested, just come talk to me. So then Action Andretti shows up and says that he's looking for some gold. He can use some guidance. And she's very excited because she seems like she's going to have her first prospect. And then this leads to Miro cutting a promo later, which I think most of us saw this coming. He says that the last few weeks have been tempting. But, he talking about temptation again and saying that CJ's pursuit of gold will be her destruction. And so he needs to protect her. And so he pulls out from the side of the screen Action Andretti, whom he's already taken out, and says he's going to destroy every man to save and protect that one woman. At least they're further in this storyline. So Miro is going to make it his mission to beat the tar out of everybody that CJ manages. Not out of jealousy, but to protect her, which is going to end up being jealousy eventually. So that ought to be interesting. I wonder how far they're going to go with this. And I'm going to guess they're going to start with smaller guys like Action Andretti and is going to work her way up to some kind of main event guy for Miro to fight. Hopefully, that's what they do. It's not just a bunch of guppies from that. Oh, Miro can get beat up on, Lee Johnson or whatever, right? All right. Moving on. Juice Robinson wrestled Christopher Daniels. Man, oh my goodness. Juice Robinson won. Let's move on. After the end of the match, Juice Robinson, who they apparently given 2 different nicknames. Now he's Rock Hard Juice Robinson and the Stray Bullet. Look, you can give him 10 more nicknames. It's not going to make him any better. He still looks like that honeycomb thing, and he sucks ass the hard way. He rocks hard, sucks ass. So Jay White gets down on his one knee. Again, very LGBTQIA. It's too much for me. In which he presents Juice Robinson with a ring. Juice Robinson then takes the ring and then punches Christopher Daniels in the head. Then Juice Robinson starts bragging about how anybody can do that, can punch people with a ring. And that ring he got from TJ Maxx for $24.99, which I'm not going to lie, I actually smiled at that. Because when you're very specific, like, I got this from TJ Maxx. I'm like, TJ Maxx? I haven't heard that in a long time. So then he starts talking about he's got the left hand to God. He's going to win the ring. He's going to pawn it. Then they're going to go on vacation. I'm like, this is going on forever. Jay White got on the microphone, said that MJF brought all of this on himself when he attacked him from behind. And I'm just like, please, this needs to hit a second gear. Like, this is not working. This is not working. It's clear now that they're trying to move on from Juice Robinson's quarters thing. So they didn't even mention it. They didn't mention the promo. They didn't mention that Juice Robinson punches people with a roll of quarters. All he does, he said, I've been punching people in the jaw for a long time or something like that. And now they're going to make it about him wearing rings and punching people, you know, because heavens to Betsy, a nickel falls out the sky or something like that. Anti-Semitism. All right, Dustin Rhodes cut a promo. I have no idea. He has no chance of winning. I don't even understand why he was even there. Nick Wayne, the pencil neck geek, man, he's a kid. Mongo, stop it. All right, Nick Wayne is here and he's dressed like he's about to skip school, and apparently he's gonna have to have a sit down with his mom and Tony Schiavone or JR or something. I'm like, why is his mom in the... Okay, I guess his mom is in the storyline because Christian put his mom in the storyline. But, okay, whatever. I don't know why his mom has to be involved with the storyline. I think we could do the storyline without his mom, right? I know she was talked about with Christian a lot, but we don't literally need his mom involved with this story. But it's supposed to explain why he is the way that he is. I don't think I want an explanation. Just some things don't need to be explained. Dickhead Kyle Fletcher defeated Boulder of the Iron Savages. Then Kyle Fletcher later said that he's only 24 years old and he has the opportunity to prove that he's one of the best. And he says that in order to do this, he wants to wrestle Kenny Omega. And you could tell that wrestling took a weird turn. I don't know when, but I'm not a big fan of like the Iron Savages and stuff. But to see a guy that you can bench press, like Boulder can bench press Kyle Fletcher, and yet he can't beat him in a fight, seems very weird to me. And the guy doesn't have like any special skills. Like if he was Kurt Angle, or he had that kind of pedigree, or even played that kind of gimmick, it would be okay. But he's just Aussie, dickhead haircut. And I'm just like, this sucks. This guy sucks. He should not be beating this gigantic bar fighting looking guy here. But I'm fighting for a time that is long gone. Very embarrassing, to be quite honest. But this Kyle Fletcher looks like shit. And it is what it is. What's the difference between Kyle Fletcher and Nick Wayne? 6 years in age. That's it. You know, Kyle Fletcher looks like Nick Wayne after he takes the Mario mushroom. All right, the Acclaimed are backstage. They're with Billy Gunn. Max Caster wants MJF to be appreciative of their work, and then says he also wants MJF to think he's handsome. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. The Acclaimed are entirely too gay for me. I don't want anything more to do with this. All right. I'm done. All right. Bowen starts talking about how Max Caster is too aggressive, and they keep saying he has to learn how to make friends, but he's not talking about making friends. He's talking about he wants MJF to think he's handsome. This is not a matter of he just thinks MJF is cool and he wants to hang out with them. This is he wants to bend over in front of MJF, and this is all very, very, very disturbing. And I don't see why this is supposed to be funny or humorous in any way. Anyway, Bowens tells him he's too aggressive. Oh, Billy Gunn, he knows a little bit about the women. I know a little bit about the guys. We can help you make friends. So they're trying to teach Max Caster how to make friends. You know, the rapper, because rappers, we're supposed to have a good A+ mouthpiece. Need to be told what to say by a 60-year-old man and their gay best friend, which is hilarious. Come on. Ended up being a joke on Renee about oral sessions or some nonsense, and it was stupid. Anyway, 2.0, Jake Hager, Daniel Garcia, all these guys from the Jericho Appreciation Society, they showed up, and they cut a promo on them, and apparently they just want a title shot. Okay. I have no interest in watching that, but thanks for coming. Thanks for coming, guys. Sky Blue wrestled Chris Statlander. They're trying to turn Sky Blue heel. She got spit on by Julia Hart, which means that she got poisoned. Poison. And now all of a sudden she's doing the Running Man. I'm sorry, she's not. She's doing matches, and she's trying to be very aggressive. This is probably the best match Sky Blue has been in. You know, this is probably the best match she's ever had. And that's because Chris Statlander is legitimately good. Chris Statlander, she gets busy, man. In terms of wrestling, she's good. She's got a nice size. She's got some technique. She looks good. So this was fine. After the match, Chris Statlander was trying to be a good buddy and raise Sky Blue up, but Sky Blue was not interested at all. She didn't care. And Willow Nightingale had to come down there to, I guess, prevent further troubles, as it seemed like there was about to be an issue between the two of them. Then I get my favorite part of the show. El Toro Blanco Rouge explains what it means to be ingobernable. And he says you must be unruly. You must be uncontrollable. You must be ungovernable. Then he says it's time for the return of the Los Ingobernables. And he says this time it's going to be real killers. And they're going to humiliate the weak and the tough. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. I like this. I like it a lot. I don't like Preston Vance. I don't like that Jose fella. I don't like him. But Dorlistico is okay. And I love me some Rouge. So my question is, why is Andrade not involved with this? Like, you know, it could be so simple with just Rouge and Andrade as a tag team. It could be so simple. Why are we not doing that? It's not like these guys aren't friends anymore. They're still friends. So, and they both work for AEW, and they started this group together. So why wouldn't they be? What's the point? Never mind. Keith Lee beat some guy named Turbo Floyd, which is an absolutely hilarious name. And the guy looks like something out of 1990 WWF. Turbo Floyd. He looks ridiculous. What? He looks ridiculous. You know, a guy is pure pro wrestling when he has like bleach blonde hair, but like a regular black mustache or something like that. It's hilarious. Shane Taylor was watching this, and I guess that was Lee Moriarty that was talking to him, but he's moving his hands in a way that, you know, is completely unnatural. So, you know, he wasn't really saying much of anything. And Shane Taylor's just nodding a lot, like he's listening to this guy, which means you definitely know that he wasn't listening to that guy. Anyway, Keith Lee won in very short order, because of course he should have. But what happened to the Lee versus Lee match? Did it ever occur? Look, I don't care as much as anybody cares, but I was told that this match was supposed to happen. Keith Lee just keeps getting set up for things that don't occur. You know, and now this nigga Swerve. He gonna say that the match with Keith Lee is all about timing. Like, what do you mean? You start a feud in April and don't end it for 2 years? Oh, it's not the right time yet. You two guys don't even talk about each other anymore. It's about time, and you gotta wait. We not ready yet. We ain't figured it out yet. You broke a brick over his rib cage. What do you mean you're not ready yet? But apparently Keith Lee is just feuding with Shane Taylor now. And this is moving at a snail's pace too. Whatever. I don't care. But that's Collision. Danielson and Cage was good. I enjoyed Willie Mack and Samoa Joe. The rest of the show and can burn in hell. Roosh is pretty good. Roosh promo is good. Rest of this stuff, this desire to make sure Kyle Fletcher gets on television. Again, you have Andrade on your roster and you put Kyle Fletcher on TV. I mean, decisions are made. You have Penta on your show. Or at least, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't in the country or something. But you have characters that are cool, and you choose not to book them. You have people that folks might be interested in. You choose not to do anything with them. You choose instead to make sure Kyle Fletcher looks legitimate when he wrestles Kenny Omega. Who cares, really? It's not like the outcome is going to be any different. Oh, you think that if he hadn't beat Boulder, I think he'd have a chance? It's not 1986. That's not how this shit works. There's no way Kyle Fletcher is beating Kenny Omega. You might as well just go ahead and book the match and then save us the time. You know? Edge going after Ricky Starks, calling him a vanilla midget version of The Rock was pretty funny. Especially you could call anybody on this roster a vanilla midget version of somebody. I mean, Juice Robinson is a vanilla midget version of Randy Savage. You know, Kyle Fletcher is a vanilla midget version of Trunks from Dragon Ball. You know, you could just go on by all the people on this show. Turbo Floyd is a vanilla midget version of a wrestler from like the 1992. You know, you could just go on and on with this. There's just so many guys on here that are vanilla midgets and are worth literally nothing. The middle of this show is absolutely pointless. Let me tell you that much. Willie Mack versus Samoa Joe? Okay. And only because I'm sort of partial to Willie Mack. Some people might not care, but I'm like, all right. At least I enjoyed that match. And I enjoyed Danielson versus Christian. But the rest of this show, everything that was in the soft belly of this show was completely pointless and useless and stupid. We know you're not going to do anything with Los Ingobernables. If I believed that they would do something good with Los Ingobernables, I would be excited for that. I like Roosh and I like Jolistico at least. I don't know about the other two guys, but I like them at least. You know, Miro and CJ, I like them. They're okay. Their storyline could be interesting. It might take us another month before something actually happens in it, but at least they have a storyline. They got something going on. But there are so many people that are missing from this product. And then they're doing things that they've already done. The Sky Blue is being poisoned. They just did this. They just did this with Julia Hart last year. And now they're put poison in somebody else. It's always stuff being in people's faces. What is going on with that? And the exceptionally gay shit that they're doing with the Acclaimed, I have no use for it. I have no use for, you know, these guys doing the stuff that they're doing. I don't find it to be entertaining. I don't find it to be funny. And I don't think you should be doing that with your world champion. And I definitely think your world champion should be on the show somewhere in some capacity. MJF not being featured on this show in any capacity, especially, I mean, yeah, they did a clip with him or whatever, and he's talking about, oh, Jews can be strong and witty. Like, he needed to be out here and trying to get his belt back. He needs to be in these guys' faces and all this kind of stuff. I don't care that he's talking to Robert Kraft. So there's just so much of this show that I don't care about. And they have the talent. It's not the question of whether they have the talent or they rely on too many old guys or whatever the fuck. It's a matter of you don't know how to utilize the talent that you have. You know, you've got Keith Lee there. He's been there for over a year. I know that maybe his health is not the best, but you should be doing something with this guy. You know, it's been in this backstage thing with him and Shane Taylor for like 4 weeks now. these guys haven't even had an in-ring promo against each other yet. You know, you don't give Swerve any opportunity to bounce back from his loss, to Danielson, or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. It don't matter. I understand that I think something got cut because of an injury, but I'm pretty sure whatever got cut didn't matter anyway, and it wouldn't have made this show any better. This show is really suffering without CM Punk, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. It's suffering. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys later.